This is the Talking About the Hoosiers podcast, presented by HoosierIllustrated.com.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 7 of the Talking About the Hoosiers podcast, presented by HoosierIllustrated.com. I'm joined by Kyler Staley, I'm Drew Rosenberg, and Kyler, we got breaking news. We've been waiting on the news. We've been waiting on the Liam McNeely commitment for a while, but he has just announced he's committing to Indiana University to play for Mike Woodson.
I mean, it was a long process, right? This is absolutely ginormous for Indiana basketball, for Mike Woodson. Really did a fantastic job on this recruitment with Liam since day one. Really, I remember, and I've said it before on the podcast, I remember when Mike Woodson and the Indiana staff had a lot of interest in McNeely before he even got big, and then McNeely just got better and better, throughout the past 2 years or whatever. But absolutely big here. They beat Kansas for a commitment, so another interesting Indiana-Kansas type of recruiting battle there. They built a great relationship with Liam, and it really just blossomed throughout the last 2 years. They get a very, very versatile guy, a 5-star wing that can come in and he can provide a lot of options for whatever you're trying to run. If you want to play him on the ball, he can absolutely do that. He's actually arguably his best when he's on the ball, when he's initiating the offense. You can play him off the ball. You can play him towards the wing. Defends really, really well. Attacks the basket. Very, very aggressive. And what makes him such a good player is he's very, very unselfish. He doesn't worry about stuff in his stat sheets. He could go out and he can get you 30 points a game or whatever, but he'll be just fine as long as he's doing the winning plays. And he's helping his team, achieve this. So it's an absolutely home run of a commitment. It really kicks off Indiana's 2024 recruiting class. It was kind of a long process with a lot of teams in the country already having multiple 2024 commitments and everything. It was going to be a heartbreaker, for Indiana, the Indiana fans, the coaching staff, if he didn't commit, but luckily they got him secured. But you got to give major props to Mike Woodson and Indiana staff for just really knocking this recruitment out of the park and landing their guy, the guy that they have been recruiting, the hardest for the past 2 years.
Yeah, you said it. He's the guy. He is Mike Woodson's their guy. This is the guy that it has been the number one target pretty much very clearly throughout this entire recruitment window. I mean, it's been pretty obvious Mike Woodson had one guy on his radar at the very top, and it's been Liam McNeely. And getting him to commit is huge. It does a lot for potentially what the rest of the class is going to look like. But McNeely kind of fits into that combo of what Woodson has wanted. He wanted big wings, wings that are very versatile, can shoot the ball, space the floor, put it on the floor. And that's just what Liam McNeely is. So, how do you expect McNeely to fit into Mike Woodson's offense, into the system here in Indiana?
Yeah, he's going to fit extremely well. He's going to fit wherever Mike Woodson sees him fit, if that makes kind of sense. But you expect Liam, he's going to be a 1 through 1, 2, or 3, depending on what they're running, what certain situations come from or whatever. But he's going to fit Indiana's offense really well. Mike Woodson, the big thing, when you go back to when Mike Woodson was hired, he wanted athletic, versatile wings. He wanted playmakers at the wing position. He wanted those types of players that he can give someone the ball and they can go out and get a bucket. They can do that. And then you also wanted a playmaker like that can also defend. So like a 3-and-D type of player, you could say. But you touched on a little bit. Liam McNeely is also a fantastic shooter. He doesn't shoot it a whole lot, like a typical shooter would be, but he does it very efficiently. Very, very consistent shooter and everything, has great touch. With it, my personal opinion, I've always enjoyed the times that I've seen Liam, and I've seen him probably over 30 times, I would say, both in person, both on stream or whatever. The big thing with me is I loved watching McNeely attack the basket, and he took a lot of pride in getting to the free throw line. One of the, the most high volume free throw shooters on the EYBL circuit. Really took pride in there or whatever. But the main thing that he's getting is you're getting a playmaker, a guy that's going to either create for himself or he's going to create for his teammates. Like I said, very, very unselfish player. He's a 5-star. He comes in as a top 10, arguably a top 10, rated player, depending on what, class you're looking at. So you're getting a guy that's going to come in automatically and produce more than likely. He's going to play a role right off the bat probably will be a starter. I'd be pretty shocked depending on what Indiana has coming back next year if he's not a part of that starting unit. He's a college-ready player. Probably could add a little bit more size, just try to get used to, the physicality of the college game or whatever, but he's ready. He's ready to come in and play right away. I don't think he's a typical one and done type of player like you would compare him to Mackenzie and Baco. That I think it'll take him a couple of years before he can get to that NBA level, but he's going into a system where they've developed very, very good players. You look at what Mike Woodson has done to Jalen Hood-Schifino, Trace Jackson Davis, and then you look at the potential what he's going to do with Khalil Ware and then Mackenzie and Baco and, throwing Malik Renew, those types of guys, what he's going to do with them. He's going to get developed. Lee McNeely has a chance to be a really special player on day one, while he's wearing Indiana, and then get developed, the next 2 or 3 years to where he's going to make it to the NBA. Indiana got a really, really good player, a really special player, a real versatile player in McNeely.
Yeah, another point I want to add, another Montverde Academy guy who commits to IU, kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Started with Hood-Schifino, then his teammate Renew, and now Liam McNeely. And there's a couple other Montverde guys who Indiana have targeted. I mean, Curtis Givens just committed, so he won't be coming to Indiana, but Derik Queen is still out there, projected to go to Maryland. But now with McNeely's commitment, how does that affect Derik Queen's recruitment?
Yeah, I think it's, you kind of look at it, I think it does play a role. You don't know how big a role that is. There has been rumblings where, there's been rumblings, to say like Derik Queen and Liam McNeely would go to the same place, would play together. They're very, very close friends, very, very best of friends. And going back to McNeely playing at Montverde, before we continue with Queen is, it was big when a big part of this whole recruitment was when Liam McNeely left the state of Texas and went to Montverde Academy. That became huge for Indiana because they were not fighting for a guy that wanted to stay in state. It was pretty obvious that he was comfortable to go out of state to play basketball, which was huge for them. It took a while. Texas was still in there until kind of towards the very end or whatever. But yeah, that was a big part, and the pipeline that Indiana has. You touched on it. They've recruited kids, of pretty much every single kid that goes through the Montverde Academy pipeline, they have recruited, and they've landed a few. And Liam McNeely becomes the latest one. But going back to Derik Queen, I think me personally, I think it is a bigger role. You don't know how big though, but it is a big thing that watch him commit to Indiana because that's a place where Queen is also being committed highly at, or recruited highly at, but you also got to be worried about Houston and Maryland with Queen. I think he is going to commit in the early signing period, so that'll be sometime in November. I think it's the middle of November when that early signing period is or whatever. But I don't think it's a close. I mean, it's a close race between the three schools, but I don't think it's close to being over with yet. I think Queen is going to take his time with, all the recruitment and everything, kind of like how Boogie Fland's taking his time as well with that. But it's pretty big, on paper. Indiana does now have a legit chance to land both. They've already landed McNeely. Now they have a chance to land his Montverde Academy teammate, Derik Queen. And Indiana fans have seen that in the past with Hood-Schifino and Malik Renew, both teammates coming from Montverde Academy to play with each other. So only time will tell with Derik Queen, but it's a step in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah, and then with that, now the focus probably turns to Boogie Fland. I know we talked about Derik Queen, but Boogie Fland has been the number 2 guy in this targets for Mike Woodson. They've sent the whole staff to go see him multiple times. They really want him. So how does this affect Boogie Fland's recruitment? I mean, we saw the Trilly Donovan tweet.
Right. I don't think it affects it hardly any. Obviously, McNeely can play pretty much 1 through 3. When you look at Boogie Fland, he's going to be probably a primary 1 or 2. He's going to play the Jalen Hood-Schifino role, basically. So McNeely's not going to come in. He's not going to eat up Boogie Fland's minutes if that were to happen or whatever. But Boogie Fland is another one where it seems, based off all the reports and everything like that, that Indiana seems to be the slight front runner. You haven't heard much about Kentucky or Alabama recruiting Boogie as of late the past, I would say, couple weeks, as hard as what Indiana has. Which goes to show you that obviously it was always 1A, 1B when it came to who Mike Woodson was targeting in the 2024 class. It was always McNeely, then Boogie Fland.
Yeah.
I think his recruitment is probably going to be another week or so before he makes a decision. That's just me personally, the gut feeling that I have with that. But if they were to land Boogie Fland along with, McNeely and then maybe Queen, you're looking at an easy top 5 recruiting class right there. That is the best recruiting class that Indiana's had in a long, long time. But with Boogie and Derik Queen, you just don't know. It's not confirmed anywhere. It seems to be it's Indiana's leading for at least Boogie right now, but we'll see with that. But you get the combination of Boogie Fland and Late McNeely. Even if those are the 2 that you get, if you're Mike Woodson, Indiana, you're still looking at a top tier recruiting class. And they're both players that, transfers and then guys that have eligibility that want to come back and play. Those are 2 guys that people want to play with because they're very, very unselfish players. They're very, very good players. They can get buckets when they're on. They can, win games for you at the end of the day. And they're 2 freshmen that would come in and play right away at the college level. So we'll just see how that goes with both Queen and Boogie. But I think Indiana's still in a really good fight here, and they're kind of leading, some of that race.
Yeah, I also want to add, talked a little bit about Montverde and the connection earlier. That connection could be something to just watch in the future too, with future recruits. Montverde Academy is consistently developing high talent or high value talent and great college players that are going to the NBA and being the best players at their program. And if Woodson is able to build a good connection with that program and he's able to recruit a lot of those guys, as he already has now, with this being the 3rd Montverde Academy commitment in 3, and I believe they have a walk-on the team. James Goodis, I believe.
Yeah. I think he did. I think he played at Montverde, but yeah, I think he's already built that pipeline. I think Liam McNeely kind of sealed it right there. That pipeline is there. It was always that kind of fictional pipeline that they always assumed or whatever, but it's there. You've gotten Jalen Hood-Schifino, you've gotten Malik Renew. Now you got Liam McNeely, which is just massive, but they're going to continue to recruit kids out of that program. It's arguably, I think I can make a strong argument and say it is the best prep school in the country. And you can throw in LaLu, you can throw in IMG Academy, but what Montverde has been able to do, bringing in the talent like a Liam McNeely or a Derik Queen, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Derek White. Or who was the guy that committed to who played at Duke last year? Can't remember.
Derek Lively.
Lively, yes, I think. But yeah, great players and everything, and then obviously they just continue to get better players and everything, and it's just it's a great program. It really is a program that gets you ready for the college level, because you're playing against college level talent night in and night out. You're playing against the LaLu's, the IMG academies, those types of schools. So that pipeline's there. They're going to continue to recruit it, as are all the other top programs in the country. They're going to continue, as long as that talent comes in. Indiana's going to be interested. I strongly believe that.
Yeah, I want to correct myself earlier. I said Derek Lively. I believe it was Derek Whitehead.
Derek Whitehead. See, I said Derek White, but I was like, no, isn't that the guy that plays for the Celtics?
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, that makes
big
sense.
Derek White guy, but
and then they've got they've also got the guy Cooper Flag, and they got his brother as well. So they're a top tier squad. They're going to be really fun. I highly recommend anybody that wants to watch really fun high school basketball, even though people make the argument that it's not really high school or whatever. If you ever get a chance to watch Montverde Academy, just the way that they play and the talent on the floor all at once is just awesome to watch. So they're a really, really good program. I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, I can come up with a few, like RJ Barrett, D'Angelo Russell, Ben Simmons. This is a school that is, I don't even know if I call it a school with the way prep schools work, but they're consistently developing NBA talent. And if Woodson's connection with the coaching staff there is strong and he's able to continue recruiting those guys, it's going to do wonders for this program moving forward.
Yeah, and it's going to bring in, the kids that are going to come through the Montverde Academy program. They're going to see that Indiana is a school that has high interest in them, and they're going to want to, try to get that recruitment, because not to say that their dream schools to go to Indiana. I'm not saying anything like that, but just having an Indiana offer on the table does monster things for your recruitment as a general. Your recruitment grows as the interest level grows. You can use Braylon Mullins as another example. I've seen just grown in recruitment. He doesn't go to Montverde. He goes, right in my backyard at Greenfield Central or whatever. But he's a player that just got better and better, and his, the offers that he got better and better and better. And that's what it does. With any kid that's going through the recruitment process, if you have the bigger offers you get, the more interest you get from those certain level of schools. So Montverde Academy, they're always going to continue to bring in really good talent. And like I said, as long as they continue to bring in really good talent that fit the system, Indiana, Mike Woodson, they're going to have high interest.
Yeah, with that, is there anything else before we move on from the Liam McNeely commitment?
No, I mean, it's just, I don't think there's anything else that we kind of didn't already touch on, but like I said, this is just a big time recruitment commitment for Indiana, a good recruiting win right there. They got their guy and they showed what it takes. Is if you stick with a kid and you really grow that relationship and you really just stick with him and you don't ever, come off of that recruitment, you do anything that you can to, get that kid. It shows you that the hard work can pay off. And that's exactly what Indiana, Mike Woodson and his staff did.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great day for Indiana basketball for sure.
Absolutely.
With that, I want to move to the current team. I mean, there was a little news. I don't even know if I should call it news from the NBA Pro Day that Mike Woodson and his staff held. Kalel Ware didn't participate with a shoulder injury. Kyler, what have you kind of been hearing? It doesn't seem like the injury is too serious and it shouldn't affect him for the season, but what have you been hearing about that?
I know it doesn't seem like it's a big injury, nothing to worry about where he's going to miss significant time with the season. You kind of do worry, how much is he going to participate in Hoosier Hysteria? How much is he going to participate in the exhibition games? But I don't expect it to be a season-ending thing or a thing where he's going to miss multiple months. But going back to the pro day, it's very, very unfortunate that he was not the one because he really is the one. You can throw in McKenzie and Baco, but he really was the one that needed to perform in front of those scouts because those scouts needed to see his work ethic. They needed to see his motor because that's the knock on him. When you go back to Oregon, even at the high school level, his motor's not always been the highest. And that's what really turned NBA teams off from him. It just wasn't, it wasn't somebody they wanted to pull the trigger on or whatever, which caused Kalel to come back to the college level. But by all accounts, that motor seems like it's going to be a non-issue, with Mike Woodson and everything. The things that we've heard, going through the summer and stuff, he's locked in. He's ready to get better, and he has gotten better. But it is unfortunate that he wasn't able to participate in this pro day. But it's not, it's not an ending thing for him. It's not it's not going to ruin his chances to go to the NBA or anything like that because they're going to see him in an actual game setting, what he can do or whatever. But by all accounts, though, the pro day looked really good. I think there were some good things that came out of Xavier Johnson. People were highly impressed with McKenzie and Baco. And they even said Malik Renew has a legit chance this year to take that major leap and everything. And, Malik's been one guy that people have always been talked about to make that sophomore leap this year. But it is unfortunate that Kalel was not able to participate in there. But I think Indiana fans can rest a little easy. I don't think they're going to be – it's not going to be too worrisome throughout the season or whatever. It's just something, you had to monitor and then you had to just be, cautious with. You didn't want him, aggravating it even further in a pro day. That's not going to really impact the season or whatever. So we'll just see how he heals up, but we'll really monitor. We'll really get a feel of how that shoulder injury is once Hoosier Hysteria comes up next week and then the exhibition games that follow it.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really too much about the program right now. I mean, other than that, Indiana basketball had their institutional media day. Big Ten media day was Monday and Tuesday, but with institutional media day, it was pretty much the same stuff that Woodson kind of said. He was just reiterating it, his focus. And so there really wasn't too much for us to talk about. I mean, kind of shed a little light.
Sorry to cut you off. Let's talk about we're kind of getting off topic here, but let's talk about the lack of media presence that was at Minnesota this year. I mean, that's pretty embarrassing, right? I mean, you and I didn't make the trip. Allie didn't make the trip. By all accounts, only a few people that could actually do it really made the trip that's on the Indiana beat or whatever. But it's not just Indiana, it's all schools. If you're not Minnesota on the beat, you were complaining a lot with this. It is just a poor location, a poor decision by Kevin Warren during his time as the Big Ten commissioner. Very, very poor to have it there in Minnesota. That's where the Big Ten tournament is going to be. That'll obviously be a little bit better because you'll have fans that are involved with that. But was not a good turnout there. And like you were getting ready to say, we didn't hear a whole lot different than what we didn't already hear at the IU Media Day. So wasn't the best. It wasn't a good look on the Big Ten. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, why not? I mean, there's other cities that are in the Big Ten country. I mean, Chicago, for instance.
Chicago and Indy. Yeah, I feel like that's the two best locations for that.
Yep. And it just, I mean, it seems so obvious to us, but clearly I don't know what's going on in the Big Ten offices that they decide Minneapolis is where it had to be. And yeah, Minneapolis, I know, is not a great place to hold a Big Ten tournament either. I mean, I just don't get it.
No, it's not central. It's not a central located place. It's very hard to get to. I mean, you pretty much have to take a plane if you're not in Minnesota to get there. But unfortunately, you're going to get Indiana. You're going to get Chicago back. Hopefully they're the consistent ones to host at least media day. But with the West Coast teams coming in, the Big Ten tournament's going to be out there, which is going to be cool if you can make it and stuff. Yeah, I mean, me
in LA
yeah.
Big Ten Media Day, get our beach on. I mean, I
don't know. I don't know if I'll make it for Media Day, but I'll definitely be there for Big Ten. It'll be cool for me because I'll get to cover Indiana at the Staples Center or Crypto.com arena. That's where my favorite team is from and stuff. So big Lakers fan in case people don't know that or just listening or whatever. But it'll be cool and everything. But yeah, it's going to be like that. The West Coast is going to get they're going to get their fair share of all that stuff as well. But as far as when it comes to a media standpoint and you want to have a good turnout, it's always got to be Chicago and Indy. Always.
Yeah.
Just a top tier place. There's things to do, especially in Indy. There's so much restaurants and bars around, the Pacers Arena and all that. I mean, it's a perfect place for any event, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so obvious to us, and hopefully they'll get it fixed. I mean, moving forward. But yeah, with that being said, I don't really have anything else. So, how you got anything else? I mean, Liam McNeely Day.
Yeah, it's very Liam McNeely heavy podcast today, but we kind of had to do that and everything because I mean it's just so big for the program. It really is and stuff. And man, basketball season's right around the corner. I mean, we get started, in what 7 days or so. We've got Hoosier Hysteria coming up. Homecoming weekend's always a fun time. Indiana football plays Rutgers. Hopefully it's a game that they can actually compete in and win or whatever. But basketball season's right around the corner. You've got the exhibition games coming up. And then before you know it, come November, it's basketball time. It's basketball. There's still some football going on, but it's basketball. We're really going to start seeing what this Indiana team is. A lot of hype coming in this season. A lot of questions as well. It's just an exciting time to be a Hoosier. You could be nervous about it. I know the fans are a little nervous to see what Indiana looks like without Trace Jackson Davis with that era, but it's also exciting at the same time because you finally get to see what Mike Woodson's been cooking up past 2 years, what he's been wanting to see out of his program or whatever. But it's getting excited. A lot of basketball stuff is getting ready to happen and everything. And, me personally, it's the best time of the year with basketball and football all at the same time. And then we've got basketball until March. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time. And for those fans listening who are we're a little disappointed there isn't any football talk today. I mean, check out the website, HoosierIllustrated.com. Yeah. We'll have the recap from Saturday's game against Michigan, our thoughts, takeaways on just going on with the program. We'll probably have the podcast next week, I'm guessing, where we'll talk about
it'll be this is Sunday. We'll probably have one this upcoming week and everything. A lot of stuff happened last week and everything. A lot of sickness. I know I'm still fighting one right now. Drew's fighting one. Alex moving into his place and everything. So it's just difficult to do, but I'm just glad that we got on here and we could actually record this one because it is a monster one. And expect more type of these breaking news podcasts, moving forward if anything big like this happens again. So we'll always be up to date, with our Hoosier news and all that.
Yeah. As always, for all things Indiana, follow Indiana_FRN on Twitter, Facebook, and check out the HoosierIllustrated.com website and make sure you're hitting subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. As always, thank you for listening to the Talk About the Hoosiers podcast presented by HoosierIllustrated.com. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.